How to learn German vocabulary fast and effectively. Greetings from Berlin. In this video, I'd like to share 10 tips and strategies that I have been using myself to learn German and English. Each of these strategies has helped me memorize thousands of words, and I hope that they will help you too. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel to get more videos like this. Let's go!
Alright, tip number 1 is to build a solid vocabulary foundation. It's very important to learn the basic core 300-500 German words very well. These words make the foundation of the German language, and they make up the phrases and compound words down the road when you will be learning more advanced vocabulary. So knowing these words will make sure that you understand up to 50% of the everyday German. I am including 2 links for you in the description, the core 300 German words and free vocabulary lists from A1 to C1. Tip number 2 is to learn fewer words, but every day. Less is more. Consistency is very important when it comes to language learning. Very often beginners make a mistake of learning new vocabulary in sprints. They learn a lot of new words over a few days and then they don't learn anything for the next weeks. That doesn't work. It's just like working out your muscles. You need to work and progressively overload your muscles over time. So instead of learning many words in one day and then doing nothing for the remaining 5 days, learn 3 to 5 words, but every day. If you commit to learn 3 to 6 words every day, within a year you will already know up to 2,000 German words. Within 2 years you will know all the words you need to be fluent. Tip number 3 is to consume content in German. Well, you might say that's kind of obvious, but the trick here is that instead of just passively consuming German content, you also engage with it, you grapple with it, you try to work with it and understand it. So instead of just watching a movie or watching a YouTube video, you try to also translate the words you don't understand. When you're reading something, you try to translate phrases and write them down and also memorize them. So instead of just passively consuming content, you try to understand how the sentences are constructed and how certain words are used in certain situations. That's super useful, and you will see that if you put in that effort over time, you will be learning much more as a result. To save you time, I compiled a list of hundreds of free German resources to watch, read, and listen. I'm including the link in the description. Tip number 4 is to use a spaced repetition app. So most of you probably already know about spaced repetition, but what spaced repetition does is that it extends the intervals between the review sessions. Every time you review the word, if you get it right, then you lengthen the interval between the sessions, review sessions. So previously people used to do it by hands, creating flashcards and stuff like that, but nowadays there are apps which actually do it for you. So here I want to mention 3 notable apps. The first app is Anki. Anki has been around for many years, and this is the app which basically popularized spaced repetition. So Anki is available for free on the web, and I think you have to pay something if you want to download the mobile applications. There are some third-party mobile applications which are free of charge, but when I tried them the last time, they were not high quality. The other app is Tiny Cards, is a companion app to Duolingo, and you can synchronize the words you are learning in Duolingo directly with Tiny Cards. And the app is simple. I didn't like certain features of Tiny Cards, but overall it does work. And the third app is Quico. So a quick disclaimer is that it's an app that I created with a friend of mine, and we created it for ourselves as German learners. We were not happy with all the products available in the market. We decided that we will create something more simple, yet much more effective. So Quico app is a mobile app available on Google Play and Play Store and App Store for free, and it's specifically designed for German learners. Tip number 5 is to learn vocabulary within context. So it can be very frustrating if you memorize a word, but when a situation happens in the real life, where you want to use this word and you cannot use it. You know the verb, for example, abhängen, which means to depend, but you don't know how to actually use it in a sentence. That happens once in a while, especially in German language, which is full of rules. A better approach to learning German vocabulary is to always learn it with an example. So what I mean by this is that for any word you use, or you learn, you discover, you basically also try to find an example if you already don't have it. For example, if you found this word when reading a blog post, you can just copy the sentence where you discovered it. But if you just came across the word and you don't have an example, then you should find an example on your own. And this example, it's important that you find an example which matches the meaning of that word. In German language, every word has many meanings, so you want to make sure it's the right context. There are a few resources out there on the internet which help you to get examples for free very quickly, within seconds. So the first method is just to Google it. If you Google a German word with the word next to it, Bedeutung, which means meaning in German, or meaning in English, you will get, very often you will get not just a translation of the word or definition of the word, but also examples. So here is the search for the word Tisch, Bedeutung, and here you can see that there are some examples attached under the primary definitions. Here is method number 2, so use Deepl. So Deepl is a web translation tool, just like Google Translate, but it's a little bit more versatile. So when you search or when you translate a word using Deepl, so you can just click on the German translation, and you will also get very often some examples and additional information at the bottom. So here you see the search for or translation of the word table, Tisch, and here at the bottom you see that there is some grammar information, there's a noun and masculine, but also there are some examples all readily available in German translated into English. And method number 3 is to use context reverso or Linguee, I think that's how you pronounce it. So these are the free online tools which give you access to the to thousands of examples for almost any phrase or word in German language or any other language per se. So here is an example. Again, I'm searching for the word Tisch, table, and you can see different meanings of that word, and also you can see examples listed under it. So these examples are not always very simple to understand because these are just excerpts from some texts on the internet, but there are so many of such examples that you will definitely find something which is understandable for you. Moving on to tip number 6, minimize interference. This one is not very intuitive, but I have experienced that, and I'm sure that many language learners also have experienced interference. So imagine you already know the verb gehen, to go, and then you are trying to learn different variations of this verb, where by attaching some prefix, you change the meaning of the word. So, and then you decide to learn all these words at the same time, because it kind of makes sense, right? You already know the main lemma, the stem of the word, and by just attaching a few letters in the beginning, you already change the meaning of the word, and then all of a sudden you can know much more than you used to know. What's going to happen is that if you are learning all these words at the same time, they will interfere with one another, and then this will lead to more time to memorize all of them. So here's another example. Many beginners confuse these words. So Saturday versus Sunday and Tuesday versus Thursday. I used to confuse them as well myself. It kind of makes sense that we learn them at the same time because they all belong to each other. But from the brain science perspective, from the perspective of how our memory works, this is not the most effective way because these words interfere with one another and they confuse you. You just can't remember the right word. So a better strategy would be to learning them one by one, and once you are confident that you know the word, then you move on to the next word. So basically park the words that confuse you. So if there's a word which is confusing and it's just taking too much time to memorize it, just park it for the later. Probably something is interfering with it, and also learn these words separately. Tip number 7 is for words which are hard to learn and memorize. No matter what you do, even if you reduce interference, even if you give it a lot of time, sometimes some words are just confusing and it's not intuitive and it's not so easy to figure out why that's happening. Mnemonics is an approach whereby you attach some letters or some words to that word, and these words, these sounds, they help you to remember that word. The best way to explain how mnemonics works is to give you an example. For quite a long time, I could not remember and memorize the word BELEGSCHAFT, which means workforce in German. And I used mnemonics to achieve that. So here I try to understand what kind of associations does this word evoke, so that I could somehow come up with something, with a vivid image or some words which could remind me of this word. So I realized that the first part, Belle, reminds me of the Disney princess. And the second part, egg, is like an egg. And shaft could be a character from the movie, or we could also imagine an elevator shaft. So what I imagined was Belle falling down an elevator shaft with a huge egg. And it's just endless elevator shaft, and she's always yelling and screaming and trying to protect the huge egg. So BELEGSCHAFT is then something I will never forget, because every time I'm confused, I'm stuck, I just imagine Belle falling down the shaft with a huge egg, and I remember the word instantly. And moving on to tip number 8, practice self-talk. Self-talk, yeah, I'm not crazy, so self-talk is not something well researched. I couldn't find any study which proves that this is an effective way to learn languages, but I have used self-talk when I was learning English. I use self-talk now when I'm learning German, and I found a lot of anecdotal evidence that proves that self-talk is effective. So I believe self-talk helps to refine and reinforce the words, the vocabulary that you're learning, and also it helps you with pronunciation. I experienced myself that sometimes I have memorized a word, I actually know the word, and in my head I even pronounce it somehow, but in reality I cannot say it because I'm not sure how to actually pronounce it. So there is some gap between what I know in my head and the pronunciation part. So when you do self-talk, you find those gaps. So you can actually fix that before an actual real life situation happens. So try it. It doesn't have to be something crazy. Just try to make up some sentences. Try to play with some words. Try to describe something or talk to yourself. And you will notice that this helps you to practice German and learn more vocabulary. Tip number 9 is to write daily posts on your favorite social media. Here I'm not talking about huge essays or articles, even one sentence or a description of your day or something else, something short, one paragraph a day would suffice. That would be more than enough. I know that you might be scared, that afraid that people around you will judge your German, that your German is bad, but who cares? Actually, people around you would probably admire you for your courage, so that's why don't worry, just start typing every day, and people in your community who know German probably will also try to help you fix your errors or just support you and maybe talk to you in German as well. So writing daily posts on different topics also will help you understand the gaps in your vocabulary, because if you're writing about daily stuff, you will quickly understand that certain words are missing in your vocabulary, and you can also fill in that gap. And the final tip is to learn new vocabulary that's relevant for your everyday life. What I mean here is that you gotta follow your passion. So basically, if you are interested in soccer or football, if you are interested in movies, if you're interested in computer games, whatever it is that you're interested in, try to memorize vocabulary around that topic. The chances are that when you meet a German speaker, you will eventually speak about you, where you come from, what you do, what you like, and the topic of your hobby, the topic of what you do will definitely come up. And when it comes up, you will be ready. You will be ready to shine. You will know all the vocabulary. So this is a great way to be ready for practicing German in real life, and it just helps you be more confident.
I hope you found these tips helpful. If you use at least few of them, you'll quickly see better results. If you like this video, give it some love and hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel to get notified about my future videos. Mach's gut und bis bald!